Hello everyone and welcome to my video where today I am actually going to be doing something a little bit different. I am going to have a guest. Her name is Lydia. She is a mindset and performance coach through Build Yourself Inside. And she is actually going to be having a discussion with me about one of my topics in a previous video, dating after losing weight. I thought it would be a good idea to get another point of view on the topic, and since she is very educated in that area, I figured why not invite her on to the YouTube video. Without further ado, here is our discussion. Hey everyone, I'm here with Lydia, and we are going to discuss dating after losing weight. If you haven't seen my first video, I am going to link it so you can watch it later on. I highly recommend the video. And I thought it was important to talk about this subject because I have lost quite a bit of weight. I lost 83 pounds. And I thought that after losing the weight, I was going to be the most desirable person known to man and everyone would come flocking to me. But boy, was I wrong. And I thought it would be a good idea to have Lydia here to discuss her opinions about it as well. We'll get into some of mine, but I want to hear what Lydia has to say. So,
Absolutely, Crystal. I mean, I don't think it's even just a matter of losing weight. I think it's like a massive body transformation, right? Like we don't come out of the womb with like an amazing body, right? Like some of us have the very few of us have like amazing genetics and are able to just by maybe moving all the time, generate, a good amount of muscle and, we can put on things like that easy. But the majority of us have to start from neutral. And some of us may be like too skinny or stringy. And, a lot of us were maybe bullied as kids. And, I can relate to a lot of probably you guys. Maybe your motivation for changing yourself was because of like a negative source of motivation. So like people giving you a hard time, which is kind of where I started too. And what ends up happening is people think that, okay, if I change my body, I'm going to get all this respect. And I feel like it's like a big illusion. And, it's because society values a hot body. They value someone who can attract attention. And as superficial as it is the truth. But you can only live by, especially in a relationship, you can only live like that for so long because eventually that truth will come out.
I definitely agree. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times what happens is we start off with insecurities before losing weight, and then it just winds up turning into a whole other set of insecurities afterwards. Oh, yeah. And that's a big issue, and I see it all the time in the gym. And that's one thing I had to learn about myself because I didn't know that I was using the weight loss as a big Band-Aid. I thought that losing the weight would absolutely cure every problem I ever had, and that's not what happened. And that's why I highly recommend that if you are losing a lot of weight, or any weight for that matter, that you focus on yourself before trying to find someone else to make you feel happy, because that's not the answer.
Yeah, I mean, boy, you said a mouthful, Crystal. I mean, I see this as probably like the most profound problem, both in my clients and just with people I talk to in general, and even guys that I've dated, is that they kind of jump into relationships really early on in life. Like I have a client who's just come out of a 10-year relationship. He's 33, 10 years. So he jumped into this relationship just around the age of 23 and gave himself no time to explore himself, to learn about what he's passionate about, what he hates, what excites him. Like a lot of people can't even distinguish between their emotions, and it's even harder for men. So, when I'm trying to help people figure out what their life purpose is, like figure out what they're excited about, they can't even determine, like they can't even think of that day, like what excited me, or what made me angry, what turned me off. And if you don't know that about yourself, how can anyone else? How can you create excitement in somebody else to be in a relationship with you, right?
I agree, definitely. Mm-hmm. And it's just sad that people don't see that until it's too late. And I was guilty of that. I thought that I was going to be so much happier because that sense of delayed gratification, like, okay, once I hit this goal, then everything's going to be great. And I was sadly mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really hard because I know a lot of you are on this path, right? There's something wrong in your life. There's some area, maybe you're not happy with your body, or you are unhappy in a relationship, and maybe you're distracting yourself from your relationship by going to the gym, right? Like, we all have different reasons that we're going to the gym, and we're using the gym to fill voids. And it's a really unhealthy way of going about living, even though, I would say probably 90% of people do this. 90% of people are, I would say, let me rephrase that, 90% of people who are going to the gym are not going for the right reasons. You have your people who are working out and trying to manipulate their bodies, but not to get something in return, right? Like, we're not trying to get a hot guy or a hot girl in return through manipulating our bodies. We're just trying to get self-respect for ourselves. We're trying to feel good about ourselves. But people are kind of chasing their tails by just keeping up appearances, and then they get into a relationship, and then they get knocked down, and they're like, okay, maybe it just didn't work out, so I'll go try the next person, and they get knocked down again, and it's just like this vicious cycle. And what they're doing is they're blaming the other person, or they're blaming society, and they're kind of sitting in their own, I say, like a sort of like a mud pile, and they're just, as long as you're blaming everybody else but yourself, and, this is where ego gets involved, but that's a whole nother, can of worms that we don't want to open right now. But it's really about introspection, learning about yourself. And, like I said, if you have a hard time doing it, you don't even know what introspection is. A lot of people don't. Then it's important to get professional help,
Exactly. And the other thing, too, that I think is important to mention is a lot of people think that the gym is just physical. They don't realize that it really is more mental. So yes, physically you have to go to the gym to lift the weights, but once you start seeing that you're breaking limits that you never thought you could break before, then you start trying to apply that to other areas of your life and realize what your value and your worth really is. Mm-hmm. And that's really important. And that's why I tell everyone the gym totally saved my life. I highly recommend going to the gym. And it's definitely like my glass of wine. That's what I tell people who don't lift, that don't understand. Like, if you drink wine, that's how I relax. I just want to go get some iron and lift some heavy weight. It's great. And just, if you are losing weight and you think that that's going to solve all of your problems, I'm here to tell you that it won't. It may help you with your health and physical things, but it's not going to solve your mental issues. So don't rely on that. And the other thing that I see too is, on the flip side, people use it as a method to make themselves feel better mentally. They think like, okay, well, I'm just going to go to the gym 100 hours in 3 days or something crazy like that, and spend every hour that they possibly can in the gym because they think that's mentally helping them, but it's really distracting them and is trying to really get their focus off of what's going on in their lives, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah, and I think I kind of want to jump back to the whole insecurity thing. I think you hit kind of a pain point for a lot of people. And, I explained this to some people, and, after, of course, now I'm doing a lot more cardio, I'm trying to cut myself, I'll sit on the bike for so long. And what I end up seeing is, and when you're really conscious of people's physiology and their facial expressions, and like I said, I am a coach myself, so it's my job to be able to interpret people, right? Interpret their intentions and maybe their emotions. And what I end up seeing is just a lot of people who struggle with eye contact, a lot of people who look at the ground, or they look up at this, at the ceiling, and all you want to do is say hi or be friendly. And it's like I said in some of my own videos, is that ego and fake confidence is extremely transparent. And especially for you guys out there who are trying to pick up girls at the gym, when you're walking around like a puffed up chicken, I mean, it's really,
That's really cute.
Yeah. It's very cute. Yeah, I mean, if you feel like you kind of have to defend who you really are by putting on a persona, that's basically, telling you that's a signal that's telling you that you're afraid to show who you are, and that's not all women will be conscious of all of this analysis, right? But that will come off quickly, subconsciously to them, and they'll be turned off by it. That's basically what happens.
And the other one thing that I want to mention is you had said cut, and some people might not know what cutting means, but for people who are into fitness, bodybuilding, things of that nature, cutting is a term that we use to basically lean down. It's not, we're actually cutting ourselves, so don't worry, I just wanted to clear that up.
Knowledge is power.
But yes, I agree with the insecurity thing, and I classify men at the gym who have the RBF face as Kanye's because it's just a big mask to me. So we have all kinds of different Kanye's at my gym, and I literally just feel so sorry for them because I know that deep down inside they're very insecure, and it's just this huge mask. It's a big shell, and I kind of actually just look at them and wish that I could talk to them, but they're just so insecure that they don't want to. I don't think they would even know what to say to me, and it's really sad.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, it can be funny at the moment, right? But what ends up happening in the end is, you know, especially like I myself, I'm a coach. It's like I really want to help these people, right? But the problem is that people themselves aren't hungry, or they may not even be aware that they have a problem because their ego is just so inflated. They just don't think there's anything wrong with them, and it's just, you know, it's something that you have to be aware of. You need to put awareness around, and you know, if you're out there right now and you're watching Crystal's YouTube channel or any other YouTube channels, and you're following along. What I urge people to do is to ask themselves why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Why do you need these things, right?
Exactly.
Because if you're what I learned from my transformation, you know, I started my, I guess you can call it, personal development journey when I was 22, and you know, I went through a tremendous, you know, 80-pound weight loss, and then I got into bodybuilding and, you know, started changing my body. But what I realized about 7 years down the road was how empty that end product was. And it was because my whole focus was on the end product. And what I realized is that once you get there, everything is empty if you have nothing else to strive for. And, you know, I mean, Tony Robbins talks about like this a lot, and he says, you know, what's scarier is getting to the end product and realizing it's not everything you thought it was, or not getting there at all. And I mean, to me, to learn that thing that I'd set out for so long and sacrificed everything for, right? I sacrificed my health and my relationships and family time and everything. And I put myself in the hospital so many times, was complete illusion. That's not something that you can keep. So just keep asking yourselves why you're doing what you're doing, and make sure that you're doing it for yourself and not to put on a facade or to beef yourself up to make yourself be better, because that's really not what makes you a better person at all.
Exactly. And I think the other issue that's out there is social media. So everyone is striving to look like all the Instagram models with all the Photoshop and everything, and then realize afterwards that it's not really real. Everything we see on there is an illusion. The filters is just ridiculous, and people are just getting so caught up on the likes and the followers and all of that, and that's not what it's about. Mm-hmm. All those people are so lost, and that's how I felt when I hit my goal, losing weight. It's like, okay, I hit the goal, now where are all the guys? They're not around, at least the ones that are worth substance and value. I mean, I attracted the other types of guys,
right,
with the puffed up chests, but they didn't add any value to my life. That's not what I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm stressing that dating, it will be difficult before losing weight, but it'll also be even more difficult after losing weight, because you're going to think that these people are here for your best interest, but majority of the time, they're really not.
Yeah, and I find people who find themselves feel like, and I went through this, I'm totally guilty of this, like you feel like you should be rewarded for having done something like that. Like you transform your body, now you should be rewarded with a bunch of attention and people telling you how great you are and admiring you, and you just, your ego feeds off that, so that's gonna give you that kind of, that high, that temporary pleasure.
The dopamine.
Yeah.
That reaction.
Right. And you're going to think that's the same thing as fulfillment, which, you know, it's obviously not. And I don't want to take this into a big direction, but, you know, this is the same thing I tell people, is that yeah, I was insecure before I lost all the weight, but afterwards, I mean, my insecurity was through the roof. I mean, I was self-conscious all the time. If I was a little puffier one day, I beat myself up. If I made a mistake another day, I beat myself up. I said, "You're not worth it. You shouldn't be here. You're not allowed to go to the gym. You're not allowed to wear these type of clothes." And what people don't realize is that really you're putting yourself in a cage, and it makes the journey, honestly, it makes the journey itself a living hell, a living nightmare if you're doing it for other people. So I know we're talking more about fitness here versus like relationships, but what happens, right? If you're living in a nightmare and you're in a relationship with someone else, you're going to make their life a living nightmare. So it's a lot of people feel like it's selfish to kind of do things for yourself, but it actually is what makes you happier, and what actually counterintuitively will make the relationship healthier and happier.
Right. But I think it's important to stress all these points that we're both bringing up, because it's really easy to get lost in the weight loss game. And I was completely guilty of it. Like, as soon as I lose all this weight, it's going to be so much better. And it definitely was not. I was so insecure afterwards because people they weren't reacting the way I thought they should. And that's the other thing.
Exactly. Expectations.
It's just like,
higher.
You have to realize what reality really is like. It's not what you think it is. It's how it's going to be. So that was a big lesson. And I just want to make sure that you all know that it's not easy either way. So if you don't lose weight or you lose a lot of weight, dating is still difficult. And I don't want you to think that it's just a piece of cake, because I still struggle to this day myself. And I don't mind, though. I actually like the process, and I've learned a lot about myself, and I think that's what's really important. I've learned my worth and my value, and hopefully you do too. And that's what's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like most people start with the external, right? Like they start with a goal, like I want to make more money, or I want to change my body, or I want a great relationship. But the important thing to remember is to start building that on the inside, because you can't have all those things. I mean, all those things are just a byproduct of a healthy internal mindset.
And the other thing I want to say too is you are not going to be instantly confident after you lose weight. I think with me, even after, I went from wearing a men's size 2XL sweatpants to a women's size 00 pants.
Same here.
And I was so insecure. It was ridiculous. I just didn't know what to do. And I didn't feel confident at all. Literally, like what you were saying, if I felt puffy or that I ate too many macros, God forbid,
right, yeah.
I was in the
Into
gym.
the world.
It's like, I can't, what am I going to do? Nobody's going to like me. And it's just like, you can't base your worth off likes and what other people think. You need to focus on yourself and realize, hey, I am good the way I am.
Yeah. And actually, I really want to stress the point that you just said, really, like, hey, nobody's going to like me if I do this thing. And it's because what's actually going on is because you don't like yourself, because you're acting a certain way. You're not living up to your own standards. You're not living up to your own integrity. So you end up beating yourself up, and then you allow other people to treat you that same way. So you're only going to allow, let's say, your spouse or anybody else to treat you the same way, to the same level that you treat yourself. So if you beat yourself up, let's just go to an extreme here, and maybe you do like cut yourself, or you hate yourself and you beat yourself up physically, you're going to allow someone else to do that too. Now, on the opposite end, if you just say to yourself, you caved, you had a cupcake, whatever, and you say, you know what, I'm only human, I'm not perfect, no big deal. You're not going to take, extreme, you're not going to take anybody else's, somebody who's going to tell you what, like, how can you do that? Don't you have any self-respect and this and you're not going to take that kind of a verbal abuse from somebody else. And that's something that people need to recognize. And if you're in that situation honestly, you need to get out of it. That's just the bottom line is, subconsciously people know whether they're in a healthy or not healthy relationship, but most people are afraid to, get out of that because they actually are afraid of being by themselves. They don't know how to be by themselves.
Exactly. And living up to other people's expectations is not a good thing, because you're basically always lying to yourself. You're living a life that you don't want to live because other people like you. And I've been there, done it, and it's not fun. I like being myself, being my quirky, silly, crazy self.
Yeah.
And lifting all the time in the gym, it's very refreshing once you realize, hey, everyone has issues. We're all going through our own things, and I'm just gonna be myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always tell people, and I just recorded a video about this yesterday, how living up to your own values is really what makes you happy. It's not, in reality, even though what you're searching for is all these external things, what you really want is not all those things. It's what people really crave, and what even my client noticed yesterday was that, and without any of my help, he's like, I'm really I just desire a sense of inner peace. Like, I don't want all the mental turmoil. I don't want the external turmoil. I just want to feel at peace. I just want complete self-acceptance of myself, and not have to just be grounded, and not have to worry about be so solid in who I am, and not have to worry about taking, crap from somebody else. And I was like, that was the most beautiful thing I think I've heard. But it's so very true. That's honestly is what people truly desire, is just acceptance to be who they are, no matter what the circumstance. Whether you're 50 pounds, 300 pounds overweight, stringy, skinny, whatever it is, if you can be accepted for who you are in a relationship and not have to try and be something, that's where you should be. That is who you should be with.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely,
for
Crystal.
making an appearance on my
Sure.
video. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or want to hear more, please feel free to reach out. I'm definitely going to include all of Lydia's information so you can contact her, get some more advice if you're interested. And until next time.
I look forward to it, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Good night, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed our wonderful discussion. If you have any questions or would like to get more information, you can leave me a comment below. Also, all of my social media information is below, along with my email address. I am going to also include Lydia's information below. And if you like the video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. You can also share and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.